The Blue Diviners by Andy Pickard. Chapter 1. Blink. Fallen. Shock, cold and pure, freezes my senses and pauses my thoughts. With my body fully submerged in the ocean, I choke on Arctic cold water. The initial shock recedes and my senses swirl into a panic. Have I fallen from the sky? I try to project my arms out in front of me like a diver plumbing the depths of an unknown sea. All seems dark, and I'm not sure which way is up. There's no light source to reference, and gravity seems at odds with my mental state. Clutching a few synaptic strands of self-preservation, I slow down and breathe out. Tiny bubbles of air rise, and I follow them upward. But the water is too dense, or my muscles too stiff, such that I feel as if I'm climbing a boulder. But with each stroke, I manage to rise to the surface. Yet breaching the waterline results in the opposite effect, more dread rather than relief. Am I ascending to heaven? No. All at once, I'm falling and rising briskly. I'm a pebble being drawn up from the bottom of a well. In reverse motion, I leave a murky trail of water behind me. Above the surface, cool air catches every hair on my body and gives them a slight tug. I have entered a sky-blue void of spring air. No water below, no earth in sight, just infinite blue. I'm not scared. I have chosen. The sound around me is pleasant and empty all at once. I feel pure. Like a baby, I have slipped into the void's embrace. But it all ends as quickly as it began. I'm rushing toward a new threshold, a dark plane of liquid slate. Before breaking through, I suck in as much air as my lungs can handle. Then, the pads of my feet taste the hard slap of chilled water. The hairs on my legs, once light with fire, freeze and curl over from an aquatic crush that rises to my torso and over my head. After breaching the envelope of water, I start to paddle briskly to keep myself upright. I can't recall the origin of my descent. The blue void is gone. The synapses of common sense have somehow been cut or trimmed. So where am I? As I rise above the water, a dense stack of old and ancient buildings tower above me, forming an architectural canyon, as if the cliff walls are the buildings and the street is the river. I can't place the architectural style, as my head is spinning and focused on survival. I swim towards one of the antiquated buildings, a hotel perhaps, but it's hard to tell what manner of structure it is. The water rises up to the balconies. I latch onto the black iron railing, a railing that might once have looked over the street. But the streets are gone, submerged rather. And this is true for all of the directions in my view. For blocks on end, all I can see is a surreal channel of water cutting through the city. I haven't witnessed anything like this in my 15 years of life. The more I look at the buildings and the channel, the more this new reality starts to soak in. This place that I have no name for has been drowned in water and drained of life. Where did all the people go? The quiet is so pervasive. I start to notice the panicked, rapid-fire cadence of my breath and the water rippling around me. What have I done? I think backwards in time, but my memory fades quickly, like a setting sun, and I'm plunged into generating new memories. For each thing I see and hear, I feel a new record being archived in my mind. But one last thought seems to cling to my old archive. The memory of my mother, her long dark hair curling over her shoulder. Or is it shorter? Red, maybe. She's fading. The last memory is disappearing, and I'm the only one present. I am dying here. If I don't start moving and get out of the water, I might lose everything. I swim away from the building and back to the center of the channel. Or is it a canal? That word seems to work. It comes from somewhere. There must be a few more memories stored up there. Oh well. Swim, swim, swim. That's all you've got right now. Further down the canal, the density of the buildings prohibit any sort of direction change on my part. I'm starting to flail. Hello? I yell. Hello? Those fumbled pleas seem a bad choice as I take on a little bit of water in my mouth. The water forces me to cough, which in turn conspires to choke the life out of me. Now all I can think about is my mother, but I continue to forget what she looks like. It's like a photograph left on a windowsill. Its colors fade first, followed by ghostly outlines that evaporate from the paper like a fog blasted by the sun. White paper remains. The imprint vanishes. No memory to cling to. I sink like a stone. I try to hold my breath underwater. Now I see the submerged cars and buses of a forgotten civilization below me. The streets must be 20 feet below the waterline. If I wasn't so tired, I might dive down to explore to find another passage out. As I swim, I feel death swimming into me. I can't move anymore. I can't breathe. The water's grip loosens around me. I'm floating, except for a narrow tightness around my torso. It's a firm squeeze, like the tension of a belt. Panicked, I reach around to pry it off. No use. I'm being pulled out of the water like a fish from a tank. My head reaches the waterline and a giant, bearded man hoists me out of the water and plops me on the boat. He scoffs at my appearance, and then I realize I don't have any clothes on. He immediately draws a dark gray wool blanket over me and then coils the braided belt like a strap, the one he used to fish me out of the water. So, there are other people here. Frigid air seeps into the openings of the wool blanket. My body shakes in small spasms, like ripples of once calm water. I try to wrap myself up tight, but my hands are too shaky. The man seems to know what to do, and wraps the belt around the blanket, securing me inside. He seems plenty warm, sporting a giant black wool jacket. Satisfied that I'm fully covered, he prods an oar of the boat deep into the water. No, it's not an oar. Now I remember. We're floating in more of a canal than a river, and this is less of a boat and more of a gondola. I've seen these before. But right now, I can't remember where. But it makes sense that we should be skimming the water of a floated city in a gondola. That is, if anything makes sense in this situation. Having rescued me from the depths, the man seems to be done with me now. His focus revolves around the oar, and steering a course to who knows where. I want to ask a question, but I can't launch even a word past my shivering lips. All I can do is watch the buildings go by. The man knows what he's doing with the boat. His wool coat reminds me of what an old sailor might wear, and he's bundled up to the neck, fully covered by a scarf or muffler. No, it's a bandage, like a heavy gauze, but wrapped around one too many times, such that it pushes up on his thick black beard. A puffy mustache covers his lips. His expression disappears into the rest of his beard. His one nod to fashion, perhaps, would be a black sailor cap. Greek, maybe. How would I know? I can't remember my own mother. But then, like a record, skipping and then setting into the groove, my thoughts land on a track, and I blurt out, "Are you my mother?" Why did I say that? I focus on him, solely on him, and cast away the other thoughts, just like the ripples of water curling away from the sides of the old gondola. He stares ahead, as if he hadn't heard me. Maybe I didn't say anything. Maybe I'm paralyzed. No, this is a dream. It has to be. I'm dreaming this. No, the man says suddenly without even a glance. His voice erupts into a forceful accent, cartoonish even. I am no cartoon, he blurts out. I am Boris. I realize I had better start talking or stop thinking, since he seems to read my thoughts. How can I stop thinking? Where's my mother and where am I? You are in Alexandria. I don't know if I can help you find your mother, but I know that you can help me. That voice. What an oaf. With that one thought, he turns his head for the first time and looks directly at me, and without realizing it, I'm hearing his thoughts now. Basic thoughts on navigation. The gist of it is, we have a long way to go, and I might do well to rest. He came from a far place, because he was alerted that I would be here. I should be grateful for his assistance, and if I'm not, I should just jump back into the water so that he can go about his business. I make a decision to not bother him again. Thank you, he barks, creating an echo of thank yous throughout the city. I adjust the blanket and close my eyes. Stillness seems to be the only way out of this. The sound of my surroundings come to life. The soft plunge of the oar in the water, the schloop sound when it retreats. Sleep descends on me, along with the Sandman's imminent arrival. There it is. A memory, a recollection of my mother singing. Mr. Sandman, give me a dream. Could this man be the Sandman? No, he interrupts. I am Boris. Then who am I? I ask. You are Trouble. You have no name yet. Huddling in the blanket, I conclude that this is a dream, and not a dream. It's both. I don't like this uncertainty. I want to know where I am, who I am, and where I'm going. These thoughts wash away, though, as I watch the buildings glide by, our gondola skimming like a cloud on the waterlogged and forgotten civilization